why not start monitoring your own media mentions to get yourself some PR? Hi guys, my name is Deepak Shukla, founder at Pearl Lemon PR. We're a public relations agency based in the UK as well as the USA and Uganda and serving clients worldwide. And here today, in day number 35 of 39 days of public relations training, we're here to talk about monitoring media mentions for your own PR. But before we get into it, feel free to click the link in the description below to get access to 11 additional strategies that are not shared in this training. So look, fundamentally, monitoring media mentions are about your own mentions, okay? Or, and we'll go into a bit more depth with this. So number one is monitoring your own mentions. Now, what I mean by that is if you're already established in some way as a brand, whether that's your company or you as an individual, then people, companies, sites may talk about you in the press, okay? So you'll get mentions, okay? So mentions will come in the press. And then what you want to do is really identify any mentions that do come in. And there's various media monitoring tools that you can use to identify this. This is something that we could help support you with. But fundamentally, you want to monitor your mentions and then determine the value of each mention, okay? Because it might be a mention that you feel is worth exploring more. It might be a mention that you feel is worth building more of a relationship towards. And there might be equally some mentions that are just false and incorrect. So really give things like this some consideration because you want to ensure that the media mentions that you identify about yourself are in the main, are positive and reflect the true values of the business. And also, if there's an opportunity there where someone who's of note, of interest, of influence has spoken about you, especially in a positive way, reach out to them, build a relationship. Okay, so this is the part that is really powerful. And then equally, when you monitor media mentions, you could also get wind of any potential bad press that just comes out that you are unaware of, that lands in a newspaper that needs some changing. So monitoring media mentions for bad press is equally important, if not more important, to be honest with you, in some respects when it comes to media mentions. So this is something that I think is a big deal. Now let's talk about the second element of it as being a good way to really land yourself some PR. So it's going to be competitors. So what I mean by that is that not only can you monitor your own media mentions, what about monitoring the mentions of your competition? That's not everybody does that. Not everybody thinks about that. And then if you do that, you're going to identify where they're getting press, where they're getting links, what they're up to, who's talking about them. And then that can really influence and determine exactly what you're going to do from a media monitoring perspective. Well, I say that it can determine what you're going to do from a activity perspective. So it's also a really effective way to do research, if I'm being honest with you. And we might talk about this in a little depth later, but a great way to do research is to identify exactly what your competition are doing. And the way that you identify that is you can use media mentions as a really powerful tool because let's just say, for example, you've got three competitors. You've got, competitor A, bear with me, you've got competitor A, you've got competitor B, and you've got competitor C. And then let's just say you're D for Deepak. If you monitor the mentions of all three of these, you're going to get you're going to get overall insights. You're going to get insights from all three, okay? And that's going to really help blend into your strategy because then you'll have a snippets and insights of all three, help plug it into your media mentions, and as a consequence, you'll start running really effective outreach, especially because of, and again, we'll go into talk about it a little bit more, but like recency and relevancy that happens when, if you're monitoring media mentions of your competition, then they are both recent if you're monitoring the latest ones, and they're both relevant because you're in the same niche. Therefore, it makes outreach to that publication much more likely to be, that publication much more likely to be receptive. So the three R's, recency, relevancy, leads to receptiveness, is definitely something that happens when you start to monitor competitor mentions in PR, as well as monitoring, of course, your own mentions. But get into the habit of just making this the standard, and it's going to really help boost your PR strategy, especially when you don't have much of a brand yourself, which is one of the things that people often starting out don't have. Monitor your competitors. Let's see what they're doing. Let's see where they're getting links from, and let's go after those same links and get them as well. There you have it, guys. Monitoring media mentions for PR.